Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Red Inc. Today for you, I'm going to be going over the Digimon TCG game and the meta that's to come. All you English players getting ready for the November release and then the eventual January full release. A lot of you are wondering what's going to be meta, what's going to be good at first, but then what's the game going to develop into shortly after when we start getting the rest of the booster packs, right? That's what I want to cover in this video. And hopefully you guys are going to find it informative. Let's get into this. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like the video and subscribe. If you find this video helpful in the slightest, please give it a like. And if you're not already subscribed, we're getting close to that 1,000 mark, and any help will be greatly appreciated in getting there. All right? So if you guys are wondering where I'm pulling this information from, I actually do have a source that I'm pulling it from, and it's the DTCG Review Facebook page, and they link it back to, they have a full spreadsheet of all of the tournaments that they've compiled, and they've gathered all this information from. So I'm pulling it straight from these guys and their database of the top decks that have all pulled out firsts in locals in Japan, tournaments in Japan, all these events, and so mostly official. We don't have any full-scale tournaments yet, but generally pretty solid information. I mean, we're looking at only first places here, so we're not looking at anything less than that. I guess there's a few seconds in there as well. But yeah, so I'm only going to be pulling for the major ones, and we're going to be just kind of comparing data, seeing what Digimon are performing well as what decks are topping the most. Okay, so we're looking at the overall data as well as kind of breaking it down to see each individual deck, what cards are really kind of defining the meta, right? We're going to look at early on when the game first launched in Japan. That's why I pulled up these May and June dates here. So this is going to be for us English players, our November release. What do we need to start looking at right from the get-go? What topped well in Japan? So that's what we want to put our eyes on first for when we hit that English release and get our physical cards, right? This is the stuff that we want to pay the most attention to. Start trading, start gathering up, start buying immediately. One before the price gets out of hand. And this is kind of one of those things is you don't know what's going to do what necessarily. It could be a little bit different here. But right out the gate, I think we're going to be pretty similar, unlike other card games where the English release and the Japanese release can be a little bit different. From the get-go, I think we're going to be pretty much dead even on what we have that's going to compete with what. All right? So first things first, I want to look at what has been topping the most in recent months, because this is what we're going to be kind of focusing on and getting into, right? So right here, they have a full breakdown of what has been topping the most. So right out the gate, Blue absolutely dominating tournaments in this past week. So that's crazy right there. So we got, I think the +3 is the hybrid decks that are, it's like, the blue and the red, that sort of thing. So yeah, lots of first from Blue, followed closely. Well, I wouldn't even say closely, but followed by red, and then green, yellow, and it really breaks off. Black not doing anything, so keep that in mind. Poor Black not doing anything, which is a shame because I was really hoping that Black Gargamon would be awesome, and it's just kind of a letdown. It doesn't really do much compared to all the other cards in the other colors, right? So let's go look at these first tournaments and really compare each of the different colors and see what's really dominating in those decks. All right, so just starting out there, it looks like right off the bat, red Gargamon in the initial was pretty heavily used in the first couple tournaments there in that first week. But then, and this is the BT one, right? So the booster pack Gargamon, but then he quickly dies out after that. So maybe not the best choice. A lot of these others are pretty lightly used, pretty scattered. But then you come down in here, and it seems like the structure deck cards in the initial push was really dominating. I mean, you got the Omegamon from the structure deck just killing it, as well as the Greymon. He's doing pretty great. Agumon, again, here, doing awesome. I believe... Oh, sorry, that was... Yeah, it was Agumon. Okay, the promo Agumon, sorry. The promo Agumon was doing great. Then the Greymon, as well as the actual Agumon. I mean, pretty much the structure deck was just on fire. No pun intended, because it's red. But yeah, so then the Greymon. So yeah, promo Agumon, promo Greymon, and but then it's everything else is kind of mixed after that. But it seems like those four are pretty prevalent in most of these decks, and it looks like that trend continues on. So definitely keep that in mind for red. So we're looking at the promo packs of Agumon and Greymon. So this is that Agumon. This is the one, the inheritable, that if it's a Greymon deck, basically you're going to get that plus 2,000 DP. And then it's this Greymon that's pretty heavily used. Your turn, if this Digimon Digisources contains Agumon, security attack plus 1. So it's a lot of those Greymon lineups where they're doing essentially just powering up the Greymons and just going in a steady line, so that way you're just doing crazy amounts of security checks, just one after another. So because you'll have, you know, your Agumon kind of powering up your Greymons, and then you go into like the Metal Greymon, the virus type, right? He has the extra security attacks, and this is the Metal Greymon I was referring to. So he gets the plus 2 security attacks. So you're just stacking up all these security attack pluses. And that's kind of just the initial strategy going into right at the very launch, especially if you're just looking at kind of structure decks alone, that sort of thing. 'Cause this is from the very first booster pack, so we'll definitely be getting it in our English release. It's the pack 2 that's a little questionable on what we're going to get out of that one. And then pack 3, of course, we won't get that until like February, so a long ways to go on that. As well as the second half of booster set 2. We won't get till February. Unfortunately, we don't know what out of set 2 we are going to get yet, so we're still kind of up in the air, keeping that in mind for these general strategies. That's why the strategies I have been looking at, we're just looking at early on. So this is going to be the structure decks and booster pack 1 pretty much primarily and only. So then we're going to shift gears here a little bit, and we're going to look at the most recent. So this is after set 2 has fully come out in Japan, and kind of everyone's learned the decks a lot more, and we've really seen what the decks have evolved into. This is kind of what is set and what is most widely used in pretty much all these decks, and they get very similar. A lot of them do. So again, we're running with the structure deck Agumon at almost full force here, as well as the Cordrum. Set 2, we've got a couple staples here. Primarily, we're looking at being able to stop those Rookie Rush decks. I think the Rookie Rush might be a super good strategy going into it, just because it's going to be a lot harder to counter those right at the start. Definitely keep an eye out on those. I think that might probably be one of the primary, if you're going to a tournament and you're trying to win, Rookie Rush seems pretty viable until, depending on what we get out of set 2. If we get Volcanic Dramon, then maybe Rookie Rush might be a little less viable, just because when you play this, it basically wipes the board of all rookies. So I don't know of any rookie that has over 4,000 DP. I mean, you're going to be taking out rookies and some champions, depending on what they're playing in the deck. So if we get this in our first 1.0 pack, then I think that Rookie Rush might be, you know, in check a little bit more. But if this doesn't come out, you're going to see a lot of Rookie Rush. Okay, guys? So just keep that in mind. And for those of you that don't know what Rookie Rush is, it's basically, so you just look at all these guys as an example, all your level 3s, since they're so cheap, the evolution cost on pretty much all of them is going to be 0, and then all the play cost is pretty much 3 for what you're going to be wanting to play. You can just spam out, you know, several of these, you know, in one turn, and then next turn just attack and almost push for a game. By turn 3, then you might be winning the game. I mean, it's literally that fast of a deck. So that's why it's important to have, you know, cards like this that can put those decks in check. And if you'll look here, the Volcanic Dramon, he's in every single deck, whether he's in large quantities or at least as 2 of just so that way, you know, you have him there as kind of a tech option. He might not be an initial part of your strategy, but you might want to at least have one in hand just in case you are coming across those decks that are Rookie Rush. And then there's always the sleeper in the room. You got Omegamon here. In every deck, he's one of the main strategies. As in red, you know, he's less of a threat in red, but in blue, that seems to be pretty much the primary strategy for blue is to run Omegamon, just because he's just that good. I mean, he is so strong, and just he's 15,000 DP by itself. Can be played in blue or red. Nice evolution cost 6 for a level 7. I think he was the first level 7 that was dropped, so naturally, you know, he's going to be really good, and everyone's going to want to play him. But just when you Digivolve and destroy one of your opponent's Digimon, I mean, that already. Usually a card like that you see as, like, you know, a Terra Force, which is, you know, an 8 cost, you know, different things like that, you know, way up there, and then you destroy it, and then that's it. You spent all that memory, and then you got nothing else to show for it other than a gone Digimon. Whereas he does that, and any other duplicates he gets rid of, which is great, especially for those like Diaboromon. I don't think you're going to see it really. It was a neat concept, but when you release Diaboromon literally at the same time as Omnimon or Omegamon, then, I mean, literally in the movie, Omegamon just wipes him out. So that's kind of what the theme is there. And so, unfortunately, that kind of made that strategy null and void, is because of how popular this card is. So, naturally, everyone's going to run this. If you're running red or blue, you got to run your Omnimon, okay? I mean, that's it. End of story. This card is literally dominating the meta. That's one of the reasons blue is doing so well. Not only does it have the Rookie Rush strategy, but it also has the Omnimon strategy, which is, I mean, both are incredibly viable. You got your Dark Tyrannomon, naturally, that's pretty much everything. He's just so cheap. He's a great just stepping stone for evolutions, just because he's so much cheaper than everything else. So you're pretty much going to see a lot of that. Monodramon there from the first set, pretty much in everything as well. Alright, so now we're jumping over to blue here. In the beginning, looking like Upamon was the #1 Digitama used, pretty much in full force in all these decks. I mean, people running 4 ofs, not even bothering to run the 5th, just so that way they can guarantee the Upamon. I mean, it is a pretty solid card. Blue is all about drawing and getting all your resources and being able to pretty much go into any different combo you want, or any different strategy, depending on what your deck is capable of. Because when attacking, once per turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, draw 1 card. So, I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have just plain rookies that are getting played out there. You can't just expect to evolve every rookie in your decks. I mean, you're playing, you know, 14 to 16 rookies. You can't expect to, you know, Digivolve all of those out of the 4 or 5 Digitama you have. So you've got to play some of those from hand, and so Upamon just helps getting all that advantage, because you're forced to play the game that way. Gobblemon, also a great card. Again, way out there in representation. You're just getting so much draw advantage off of Gobblemon. So, I mean, there's no reason not to play it, because of, I mean, a rookie is only going to get you so much, and just when it's played, you know, you're going to get that draw, and I think that's pretty important. You're not going to be needing any kind of other special abilities like when attacking or anything like that. Jamming is good on some rookies if you're going for a complete Rookie Rush strategy. If you're not going for that, though, I wouldn't really bother with the jamming. Then we're down here in the structure deck. It looks like Grizzlymon definitely getting represented very highly. Grizzlymon is just a blue blocker, super cheap, level 4. So you definitely need some blockers. I mean, 4 blockers is pretty solid for a deck, just in case, you know, blocking the stuff you can block easily, I think is a pretty good idea. The Wererumon, very little touch right then. Same with the Metal Garurumon, very much a letdown there. Hammer Spark, though, oh my goodness, Hammer Spark just fully up there. Yeah, so in English they're calling it Vulcan's Hammer, so just keep that in mind. Hammer Spark and Vulcan's Hammer, interchangeable. Mainly just you get 1 memory. It's a 0 cost, so you just give yourself advantage. And as much as this deck draws, you don't have to worry about the fact that, oh, I just played one of my resources out of my hand that could have been something else I really needed. And this deck that just draws as much as it does, don't even worry about it. I mean, and also a deck out in a 50-card deck is in a game that doesn't really go for extended periods of time. Maybe if you're going against a yellow deck, it could go for a little bit longer than you need. But Vulcan's Hammer is just an outstanding card. You're going to see it everywhere. It's still used. I'll just give you a hint. It's still used in the meta even now. And then lastly, looking at Omegamon again, initially a lot less used in blue. However, early on, red was just absolutely dominating. The structure deck by far just blows the other two out of the water. Red just dominated straight from structure deck standpoint alone. However, once people really started learning the game, it got even for a pretty long time, where it was both strategies were doing quite well, very very neck and neck. Omegamon again, just its general strategy was to play up to high level. I mean, with red, it's to play high level Digimon, evolve into them, and then blue was a little bit less so about that early on, but now it's a whole different ballgame. It's pretty much shifted completely, whereas blue has taken over in the meta, as we saw earlier. So speaking of, we're gonna go right into it again. Upamon, just full power there. I mean, you're running 4s in pretty much all these decks. I don't know what's up with this one right here, this deck that had literally one Digitama in it. That makes no sense to me. If you're going to run one Upamon, might as well just run 4. I don't see why you wouldn't. Electamon, pretty widely used here. I think we're going to see this is a lot of Rookie Rush is what a lot of these decks are, because there's a lot of rookies here, and in a pretty high number. Electamon is just very, very cheap, bland Digimon. Again, we're going to see that Gobblemon getting that draw power. Gobblemon just actually represented almost more so than the Gobblemon. So there's the Gobblemon there. I mean, when destroyed, get +1 memory, and if you're playing a deck that's really running up those evolutions, then sure, getting that +1 memory could be more advantageous than just getting a draw. But I mean, if you're playing in blue, you're probably gonna run both of these guys anyways as your rookies, just because you need so many. And then we got the Electmon right there, very very cheap, 2 to play, pretty awesome. All right, and then coming down here to the structure deck again, still used even now, several months later. I mean, this is 4 or 5 months into the meta, and I mean they've had 2 booster packs by this point, and structure decks are still just absolutely fundamental cards for your meta level decks. So guys, make sure you get your structure decks, because they're not going to just be a one-shot deal and only good for a month and then you're going to move on. No, you're going to use those cards for a long time. Again, the Gobblemon from the structure deck, great card. Grizzlymon, still pretty much almost used at max in most decks, so that's pretty awesome. Again, it's a blocker, it's a good cost. Really nothing you can complain about it. It's just a solid card. Plessymon's pretty up there. Metal Garurumon, barely even looked at. And then once again, Hammer Spark at max in every single deck across the board. So that should tell you right there plenty about Hammer Spark, okay, or Vulcan's Hammer. And then again, we're looking at Omegamon here, and it looks like the general thing is, again, the decks that are using very very low amounts of rookies are going for straight Omegamon. They're playing cheap evolutions, and that'll get you into Omegamon as fast as possible, and then you can start pushing for game all the more quickly. And then looks like there was one All Force Vidramon. Oh no, there's 2 that topped. I haven't covered this one yet. So this came out in the second booster pack. We don't know if this one's going to be in ours or not yet. It's still up in the air. Of what of the main cards we're going to get, or the higher end cards from the second set we're going to get. We don't know if they're just going to give us a bunch of blue and black, and then that's going to be all we get, and then all the other core support, we might not get any of it. So just keep that in mind. That's just kind of a theory I have bouncing around, that if they're going to give us half of the second set, they might just give us the black and purple parts of it and then leave out the rest. So like our main alter art card will be like Beelzemon. So, and we won't get the Old Force. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. But I'm going to show it to you anyway. But it's very, very low representation. It did win a couple tournaments, but in general, it looks like it's not very widely used. Just because I think the consistency of it once you get the whole strategy set up, I mean, that's pretty much game over. But the problem is people are losing so fast that they can't set up and draw the right cards they need to get that strategy off. And that's what's really killing it. And then it looks like Omegamon's doing well, and then the rookie rush strategies. So where all these Omegamons are pretty light, you get a lot more rookies to counterbalance the lightness of the Omegamons. All right, and then looking at green here, poor green had a very rough start. You know, they don't have a structure deck yet. Even in Japan, they don't have a structure deck. It has been announced. It is coming, but that means we probably won't see it here in the English game until, oh goodness, I speculate, you know, March or April. I mean, probably more like April at this point. Maybe even a little bit after that. It just kind of depends. And then it took them so long to get the second set that they're not even being represented in these first couple tournaments early on. So we'll see how this goes. It's kind of questionable, but you're kind of forced to use almost everything that they released. Some stuff not even looked at, like the Omegamon and the Gargamon, not even used at all. I mean, some of these other ones, you know, a little bit. Togemon sees a little bit of play here and there. The Digitamon, barely used. Alter Kabuterimon, again, not used. But everything else from green, it looks like everything is used. So if you're interested in green, then you can almost not go wrong with just collecting everything green. Getting 4 of everything, because that's pretty much, you're going to have to use 4 of almost everything to get your deck off the ground, to get to that 50 card limit you need to play. So good luck. I will say that. Just going back and looking at the results here, it is in 3rd place, but I mean, that's only 6 out of, I mean, you're looking at, you know, almost 40 decks here in the top, and you know, it's not even a quarter. It's out of, you know, especially it's not even a third. So I mean, that should tell you it's pretty rough there. And then just to prove that point here, these are the 6 decks that were used and that were topped just this past week. So if you're interested in what those are, you know, take a look on the screen right now, and I'll switch my camera for y'all up top. And so I'm not really sure of the general strategy of this one. It's so uncommonly used that I haven't had a chance to look too closely into it. I know that Flower Cannon is a beast of a card, and people are always scared of it. So look at all those. Oh my goodness, is that a typo? Was there really 4 or 5 different Omegamons? Oh, that's got to be something with that. So yeah, green, just for being in 3rd place, it's still pretty low in representation and wins overall. All right, and then we're gonna switch over to yellow here. Oh, I gotta even move my bracket over because it wasn't winning anything at first. Nobody was playing yellow right off the gate for a couple weeks. It took them a little bit, and then they started to. But wow, it was pretty rough starting out. It just, until it got better support, I believe, from that first booster pack, is when it, you know, really started to help. Out of the 3 structure decks, it's definitely the lowest. So if you're having just a battle with friends and you're picking structure decks to go against each other, you might not want to pick up that yellow one. It might be fun, but if you're just using the structure deck cards only, you might want to steer clear here, because case in point, all these tournament decks here, there's very few cards that you're going to see a lot of representation out of that structure deck. The Unimon here, he's used everywhere. I mean, he's in every one of these decks, almost at max. Just one there that he wasn't. But then after that, everything else just has very, very little use. It seems like this one deck here, this one winner, he used almost an entire structure deck. Maybe he just didn't have much else. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But then you got all these the buffs here. So initially, early on, one of the big strategies for yellow was the Tinkermon and the Pymon, because It's just, it bounces them back. It just, basically, you're just kind of looping cards that keep going to the trash, and you get to keep bringing them back, so you're not really losing advantage, which is nice. So you can keep sacrificing and keep, you know, crashing, that sort of thing, and keep bringing them back. Pretty good strategy there. After that, though, it's just kind of, you know, up in the air on what people are using. It's a really mixed bag here, I noticed, whenever I was looking at it, of what was widely used. As far as, you know, the big stuff here, I mean, you got your Mistymon, your Slashmon, and your Seraphimon, or slash Angemon, I should say. But I mean, that was it. That's all they really had. That was, you know, the higher level of evolutions was those guys. So of course, that's what you're going to see used in a lot of decks. But as far as everything else goes, a lot of Digimon, very, very little option usage here. You got Heaven's Reaper, and that's not even hardly used as well. So again, yellow early on didn't have a whole lot to work with. But if we look at recent scores, right, again, they're sitting here at 6 as well for yellow. But literally, I mean, I'm pretty sure your whole strategy is you're going to see, yeah, Rise Greymon and then Shine Greymon are just the absolute only strategies this deck has going for it. It's kind of sad. Shine Greymon is a super cool card. I think it's pretty awesome. A little OP, but at the same time, you really need an OP card like this to help a deck along as much as it needed the help, because the rest of the deck, I mean, it's, you know, you keep replenishing your securities and that sort of strategy, but they have no good win condition, right? And I think that was the biggest lacking issue is, you know, they're not doing Rookie Rush with these guys. You're not really making any big evolutions, you know, like the War Greymon strategy for red, or the Omnimon strategy, which is, you know, blue and red is just dominating with those because they have those options available to them, whereas yellow didn't for a while. It wasn't until the second set that they saw that support that really helped them. And again, I don't know if we're going to be getting these cards in our first booster pack or not. So if we are getting these and you're wanting to play yellow, make sure you get your play set of your Rise Greymon and Shine Greymon as fast as possible, because you're going to need those if you're expecting to win any kind of tournaments. Alright, so next up is purple and black. So at this point, this is set number 2 in Japan, so I don't know if we're going to be getting these. In theory, I would think if they were going to give us half, that they would give us this half. I think it's going to be one or the other. Either they're going to give us all the purple and black and green, you know, in our first set to make up for not having structure decks, and save all of the extra support for, you know, like your blue, red, and yellow support. I think that we're going to wait, and we're not going to get that till February. That's just what I'm theorizing here. So that way they can get all the colors out immediately, all at once. If not, then there's no point in giving us any of these 3 colors and only stick to the primary colors, which would be kind of a shame, really. I think the diversity would be better and leave out all the extra, you know, good support for those primary colors to allow the you know, the black and purple to help kind of keep up a little bit. All right, so then this was all later. This came out in July in Japan here. So that's when these decks started taking off, because you're pretty much, again, similar to that green strategy I talked about early on. There was only so many cards to go around, so you're really stuck on what kind of strategy you want to use. You pretty much have to use max of all the cards available to you to really make any kind of deck. I mean, literally, you only had 2 Digitama to choose from, so and then Pagumon was by far the most used, so just keep that in mind as well. Impmon, also a pretty viable strategy. Also, I think he's going to be more of a strategy way later in the future. I mean, I'm talking, you know, March and April for the English release. But more and more cards are coming out that really specialize in what he does. He dumps stuff to the trash, and they're coming out with cards that let you take stuff out of the trash and immediately play them for free, essentially. Because you're going to be summoning them, getting a Digimon on field, and that Digimon's effect is let you get stuff out of the trash. So basically, you're getting 2 Digimon for that price. Poor Wizardmon, just not even hardly used. I mean, maybe in a hybrid or something. Just a lot, very underrepresented, which is a shame because he's a great Digimon. If any of you fans from the show and you know what he does, pretty awesome guy. Pymon, same thing, just pretty much not used at all. Garurumon for purple, also very little used. Millenniumon saw a little bit right at the beginning, but it looks like that kind of died off. Pretty good strategy. I think he's a little bit harder to pull off. Alright, so your Millenniumon here, kind of like the Omegamon, you know, 6 evolve, 2 different options here, level 7, only 13,000 DP instead of that 15,000 Omegamon has. And so when Digivolve, return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of their deck. That Digimon's devolution sources are discarded. So he doesn't destroy, which is kind of key because of his next part here, is when destroyed, if this Digimon had any devolution sources, you may play this card from your trash without paying its cost. So say they Omegamon you and destroy this guy, you get to bring him right back. And that's what's kind of great about this. And if you're going against a lot of other Millenniumon, his when Digivolve effect counters other Millenniumon. So if you're doing that the mirror match, then you might be better off, you know, kind of holding on to your Millenniumon until they play theirs first, and then you drop yours, because pretty much the best way to get him off the field is with another Millenniumon. Beelzemon saw some good use in the beginning. I think he's kind of died off in popularity though. I think he's going to be making a comeback really quickly though. Again, like I was saying, with the Impmon, the strategies for purple is to dump a whole lot into the trash, right, and then bring them back out of the trash, you know, the exact what you need. So they're milling a whole lot out of the deck, and I think once that strategy becomes more popular, Beelzemon instantly will become a must include in pretty much all these purple decks. So I think he started strong just because of his popularity and then has died off, but I think he's going to come right back though. So just be ready for that in set 3 when set 3 launches. Pymon early on, very, very kind of underused, which is a surprise because he's a pretty popular card, I believe now at least. He's got Vengeance, so anything that kills him, he kills it back. And then when played, so you're not going to evolve this guy at all, so rip that 3 mana evolution for a 6 cost card, or a level 6 card. But when played, you may play up to 2 level 4 or less purple Digimon from your trash without paying their cost. Digimon played by this effect do not activate their when played effects. So I think purple is a pretty good Rookie Rush strategy, actually. Rookie Rush with Pymon. I think we might see a little bit more of it in what's currently played. So we'll switch over here and look at the sadly only the 3 topping decks. Again, Beelzemon was in these as well, and Millenniumon was used in 2 of them, but Pymon was used only in 2 as well. But it looks like this other strategy was the Rookie Rush one here, I believe. So just another option if you don't want to play the Millenniumon strategy. You can play with the Pymon and the Rookie Rush strategy. And I think that's going to be your best bet for purple early on when it drops. Is going to be one of those 2. All right, and then we're going to look at black again. I'll just go ahead and point out again right now, in recent tournaments, black has done nothing. Okay, black has literally done nothing. Won 0 events. That's not to say it hasn't, you know, topped, you know, got second or third, but it hasn't won any recently. Even looking at this is it since the game has come out. This is it. We have quite a few in July when it first hit, only 2 tops in all of August, and 4 tops in all of September, and that's it. None in October yet, as of yet. That's pretty bad, unfortunately. Again, they're running into that issue of they've only been in 1 pack release so far, and you've got to run pretty much 4 of everything that's available. It looks like Megadramon here wasn't hardly used at all, as well as High Andromon. Although he was recently, it looks like he was kind of making a comeback there at the end, but wasn't hardly used at all in the beginning. Which I believe he's a pretty cheap. He's a good stepping stone. He's a cheap evolution cost, so he's a good stepping stone, as well as he's just got solid attack. The Diaboromon, just absolute trash. No one's playing him. I think you can use him with the promo though, but nobody is playing the promo, which is oh, that's Diabolomon. Oh yeah, same guy. Sorry, the English and Japanese names, I know them in English, but then when you cross them over into the Japanese, I'm like, okay, I gotta make the connection in my head, who's who and how they relate to each other. Black Wargreymon, this is what super disappoints me. I hope they remake him super soon and we get an alternate version, kind of like, you know, the red Wargreymon that we have. I mean, how many Wargreymons do we have at this point for all the different colors? So I think another black Wargreymon, I don't care if it's for purple or what, but I think we need another black Wargreymon because he's an absolute beast in the show comparatively. I mean, you're comparing all these early, you know, adventure and season 2 or series 2 adventure of what was topping, or I mean, who was doing amazing in those shows, and so for him to be like utter trash is super disappointing. All right, and then you got Gargamon here, of course. Toy Agumon is an outstanding card, and I'm glad to see every one of these decks that topped, he was maxed out in all of them. Let's go take a look at Toy Agumon here, because yeah, he is a boss of a card. I would love to be able to run him into more things, because he's got Reboot, and he gives Reboot to anyone that evolves from him. So he's a 2-cost evolution, so you're going to evolve over him, and then he gives them Reboot. So what's so great about Reboot is, for those of you who know, with the turn you attack with them, at the end of your turn or at the start of your opponent's turn, he gets to untap again, basically, which is great if you want to put him on a blocker, right? So then you can attack with your blocker and then still block with them when it switches over to your opponent's turn. And I think that's just phenomenal. And as well as just protecting kind of your key pieces here. Anything that you want to evolve into, you want to attack with it, but then you don't want your opponent to be able to bounce back and come at you. So I think that's pretty great. I love this Wargreymon. Blocker and Reboot built in. You know, you don't need any kind of special skills there at all. So I'm curious how much he was used. Yeah, so that Wargreymon is pretty much in every deck, almost maxed out in all of them, 3 to 4. Outstanding card. I love it. I want to play black, basically just to play him because he just seems so awesome. Just build up a lot of security or whatever. It's a little harder in this. Red does it really well, but black definitely struggles. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a strategy there you could work in because he's a level 6, right? And so then set 3s having a lot of these, like, you know, red and black combinations. Find something. Find a level 5 black that can evolve from red, and then you can also play this guy. I don't know, just something to theorize about. I think it would be kind of neat to give him all these like security pluses and all the you know, like if Wargreymon or if Greymon's in the name, you know, you get that extra 2000 DP. I think it'd be kind of a neat combination to use with them. And then also the Metal Greymon. I mean, pretty much if you're going to play the Wargreymon black, you're probably going to be playing this. Because your turn, if this Digimon has Reboot, security attack +1. So you're going to want to evolve your Wargreymon from this guy to give him that security buff. All right, and then just go right along with it. The Greymon as well. If this Digimon has Reboot, which again that Wargreymon's going to have it, they get jamming. So then you're going to do all these, you know, security checks, and it's not even going to harm you at all. So that kind of covers, you know, what was topping and why they were topping, you know, what was used in a lot of these different strategies here. So again, blue is the primary force to be reckoned with currently. Initially, from the start, it was red. So be looking at those red and blue decks for sure at launch. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, please like the video and subscribe. Definitely appreciate any kind of support you guys can give me. And if you want to see any other videos covering Digimon, let me know in the comments section below. What do you guys want to see? Do you want me to go in depth with actual deck profiles and, you know, really break them down? You know, I would like to start getting more gameplay videos up for you guys. Do you want to see the tabletop simulator with all the cards, or do you want to see more of the a bit nerd simulator, the one that looks really good but it's still limited on cards? They should be putting out an update here soon with more cards. I know they were getting green implemented So hopefully they're going to get that, as well as more booster pack stuff for you, for us, I should say. But with that, thank you guys again for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.